Good morning, everyone. Today we're looking at a difficult passage from Mark chapter 7, verses 24 through 30. So if you would pause the video and please read that passage. And now I'm going to move on to the questions. Question 1, why would Jesus not want anyone to know where he was? He was probably just exhausted. We know that Jesus would get away and leave the crowds and go into solitudinous places to pray. And there were times when he would be in villages healing people and teaching. And the crowds would just, or individuals would just keep knocking on doors wanting his help in some way. And sometimes he just had it, and I think that's a part of what's going on in this passage today and the difficulties therein, which we're going to go into now. Question 1b, this speaks to Jesus's humanity. Okay, Jesus was the Son of Man. He was the essential human being, and he had the same weaknesses and frailties as all of us human beings, and we're going to see where that weakness and that frailty led in this passage. By the way, I really appreciate that the gospel writers keep these difficult passages that reveal Jesus's weakness and his frailty, because that means that God is with us in our own weaknesses and frailties as well, and loves us no matter our faults and our giving in to the temptations that come to us in those weak moments. Question 2, why could he not escape notice, and why would this woman come to him? So even when he tries to sort of hide away, people always found him. And there was no escaping, because too many people were learning about his miraculous healings and his amazing teachings. And this woman came to him, I think, out of desperation. Whatever she had done to try to help her daughter hadn't worked. And she had heard of Jesus's exorcising demons from others. And so she came to him to beg for his help. Question 3, how do Jesus's troubling initial words to the woman speak to his identity as a Jew and commonly held beliefs at the time? So Jews understood Gentiles. This woman was a Syrophoenician woman. She was a Gentile. And Jews understood Gentiles to be without the law, and therefore since they didn't have the law and could not therefore keep the law, they were sort of by definition sinful. And so Jesus in his weakness dehumanizes this woman, and when she asks for his help, she says, well, don't the children need to eat before the dogs? That's always been one of the most difficult things that Jesus has ever said, and I don't think there's any justification for them. There's an explaining them, and I think the explanation was he was exhausted and feeling weak. And this was what led him to not now. Please go away. But the woman persisted. This is still a danger. In moments of weakness, we can dehumanize those who don't believe in the same manner that we do. We can dehumanize those who are not as educated, not as morally righteous. And so we need to be very, very careful. We should respond to the danger of wanting to demonize or dehumanize others by resisting it within ourselves and resisting it whenever and wherever we see it, and by apologizing for it when it comes from us or from our particular faith as well. There's a stand up against bigotry and hatred pledge that I took when the Muslim ban was being voiced back during the 2016 campaign. And in that pledge, I promised to stand up against bigotry, against whenever I see it or hear it. Question 4, how does the Gentile woman's response speak to the possibility of wisdom in every culture and tradition? So she remains calm, and she speaks to how even the dogs under the table eat the crumbs that fall from the table, which was an incredibly wise response. And Jesus is deeply moved and helps the woman. She seems, instead of being defensive, she seems willing to accept Jesus' characterization, and this speaks to one of 3 possibility, or a mixture of all of them. Her humility, her desperation, and willingness to sort of be pragmatic in her desire to receive Jesus' help. And then another possibility is that women and foreigners in this world were used to being degraded, and so therefore she was sort of used to it, accustomed to it. So there's another bit for you guys to consider if you like scholarly considerations. I'm not going to go into them now, but I thank you so much for listening, and I welcome your comments down below. God bless and keep you all, and let us know if there's ever anything we can do for you.